Hi everyone, and welcome to our webinar demo introducing SpotMe Express. I'm Pablo Fernandez, VP Product at SpotMe, and I'm joining you from Lausanne, Switzerland. I'm delighted to showcase our new addition to our product line, SpotMe Express, as part of our B2B event marketing platform. Where is everyone joining us from today? Wow, amazing. SpotMe is on a mission to help B2B marketers accelerate customer relationships. We come with 20 years of experience developing products, technologies, and services that enable B2B marketers to build amazing relationships with their customers. With the rise of hybrid and virtual, B2B buyers now require more self-service experiences. They want to learn about the product they are considering to purchase and engage in rich, relevant, and trusted experience with the companies they value. The buyer is also more conscious of its time and is only available for micro-commitments when it comes to engaging with companies and products. Attending a multi-day event is now considered a big commitment. It needs to be balanced with smaller-sized, online-only events where the buyer can build this relationship in a more progressive way. This is why we envision our platform as supporting the buyer journey as a continuum of different types of events engagement on a unified platform. We are excited to announce SpotMe Express for webinars that enables marketers to accelerate their customer relationship by building beautiful webinars with the power of a scalable, secure, and compliant platform underneath. We can't wait to show you the tool and to execute on the ambitious roadmap we have. And also to see how marketers accomplish their mission to build trust with their customers throughout the entire buyer journey. Today, we will walk you through 3 areas of focus in our demo. The first one is called Create. Create custom branded webinars with interactivity and engagement in a modern web and mobile experience. The second is called Scale. Host unlimited webinars with up to 5,000 viewers and scale with enterprise-grade security and compliance. Last but not least, the third one is called Adapt. Foster a relationship with your audience and deliver engaging content throughout the year. I'm now handing over to Josip for the demo. Josip, over to you.
Thanks, Pablo, for a great introduction. Let me show you now how you can use SpotMe Express to create branded and engaging webinars with features such as clapping, polling, interpretation, and other great things. So here I've already created a basic webinar with none of those things. It's a very simple one-way kind of broadcast setup. The first thing I want to do once I create my webinar is decide what are the interactive features that we will use during my presentation to make it more engaging and interactive. For those who don't know SpotMe, we come from a long history and background of creating engaging mobile event apps for virtual, in-person, and hybrid events. And for the first time, we are now bringing some of those learnings and key developments to the webinars. One of those features is a very simple one that you can use as you're watching this webinar live or on demand. At the bottom right corner of your screen, you can see this clapping button. It's a very simple but very great feature for you as an audience and for me as a speaker. As an audience member, you can click the button, you can let me know that my presentation is going well and reassure me that we're on a good track. Other attendees who are watching the webinar at the same time see a little clapping animation coming out in the bottom corner, so you also know you're not alone watching this webinar. Create that kind of trust and bond between different people during your webinar. And for you as a marketer, it's a real treasure trove of data because you can use this clapping information later in your CRM or your marketing automation system to increase or improve your lead scoring, to send kind of different actions to people who clapped a lot or who did not clap a lot. It's a very great simple feature. Now you can configure these kind of features from the settings screen. I've clicked there on the settings button, have here interactive feature, so clapping is on by default. It's really that great. Another feature I wanted to highlight is also Q&A. It's really the key to having a really good conversational webinar that, again, is not a one-way broadcast or a presentation. With SpotMe Q&A, you can of course disable it altogether, but we do recommend having it enabled. And once you do have it enabled, you can choose between using moderated Q&A or unmoderated Q&A. In this case, it's unmoderated, so feel free to send us your questions. We'll answer them at the end. If you expect a lot of questions, a lot of tricky questions, perhaps you want to do moderated Q&A. Another great feature for kind of more tricky webinars, more kind of internal webinars where you want to create a safe space for everyone to ask questions, you can also enable anonymous questions. So people can send a question, but you will not know who are they coming from. Again, really great feature to get a conversation, and even before your webinar starts, people can use the Q&A box on the right side that you can see to send you questions in advance. Now we're going to cover more how to use Q&A during the live webinar a bit later, and right now we'll move on to the next interactive feature I wanted to show you, and that's the live interpretation. So we've partnered with Interprify, one of our partners who is providing live interpreters, professional interpreters who can translate your event in real time from English to 10 different languages. Again, it's a great way to expand your audience for your webinars because not everyone may feel comfortable listening or speaking in English. So why not extend the audience reach to other countries and other markets that you are serving already. Okay, so we've set up those features. We've left enabled clapping, we've left Q&A and anonymous questions. The next thing I want to think about when I'm setting up my webinar is the registration page. So how are my attendees going to get to my webinar? Again, it's very simple to set up. I'm here already in the settings screen. I have a section here where I can customize my page, and I can also take a look at the page before it's ready. So I click here on preview. So this is by default kind of lacks some branding. Let's configure that. So I can add a banner for my event. I'm gonna drag and drop one here, select that. I could write a little description about my event, add some links, add some formatting to other websites with this easy text editor here. And I can choose which fields I want to ask people on the registration page. I have already here the defaults. I'm just going to ask also for a company, and I'm going to ask for the country where my attendees are coming from. And you can make this mandatory or optional. I'm going to leave the country mandatory and the rest optional. And the last thing also I can do on the registration page, you've seen here it's all kind of blue. Our branding is more orange, so I'm just going to change this orange color, this blue here, to orange. That works better for me. And I'm also going to add a little icon here for my registration page and some other elements. Now we changed to the design section because it also, these settings apply to your webinar front end, and I will show you that in a second. So and I'm going to drag and drop a background right away, and I'll show you that as well. So as I was talking, we've configured actually all of the branding options for our webinar, for the registration page, and for the actual webinar. Let me show you these. So here I have a registration page now with my banner, with my branding, and with my form that I've configured. Now, as people get to your registration page, as they fill it out, they will automatically get access to the webinar front end itself. So they'll be able to watch the webinar live if the webinar is live, or they'll be able to watch a recording of your webinar if it has passed. And one thing you've noticed as you were joining this webinar and as your attendees are going to join your webinars, there was nothing to download. There was no software to install. There was no plugins to install or update in your browser. SpotMe Express is all browser based. So it's really easy for your attendees to get into the webinar and for you to get a really good and a high activation rate. So now we've made all those kind of settings. What I want to show you next is how you can manage and run your webinars live. So let's say we've now configured everything and it's the time to shine, to go live with your presentation. How would you run that? So here, the whole time actually, I have been in what we call the studio. So the studio is this part of the SpotMe Express where you configure your webinar, how it's going to look like in the front end, where you can manage the Q&A, you can manage the polls. I already created one in advance, and where you can invite speakers to join you in your webinar. And you can also control who then appears in the webinar itself. So I'm going to send this link to Pablo and ask him to join in a couple of seconds there. And as he's joining, I'll show you around here. So at the top, I have some information about the streaming time, how many people are watching this right now, the claps. On the right hand side, I have the speaker chat, what we call the speaker chat. So as speakers join, and you'll see that again in a second, when Pablo is joining, he will join in what we call the green room. So he'll be here in this little panel next to me, and I'll see that he's there. We'll be able to use the speaker chat to get ready and to communicate. But until I actually decide for him to be visible to everyone in the webinar, he's gonna stay in the green room. And that's one of really nice, really great features about the SpotMe Express, is that you control who is visible and when in the presentation. So here I see Pablo joined, and as he was joining, SpotMe Express also asks your presenters and speakers to run a little connectivity test, a camera check, a mic check, and I can actually see Pablo skipped his check. So he says he's ready, and let's see if his setup actually works. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna click on my name here so you can see me, and if we were live, you would actually now your audience would see me. And looking at Pablo. Hey Pablo.
Hey Josip.
Hey, how are you doing, Pablo? Good.
Good.
Your microphone seems well, your camera seems good. I think it's okay, you skipped the connectivity check.
I did, in fact.
Great. I'll take Pablo down for a second just so you see. As I remove Pablo or as I remove myself, the screen layout automatically updates. So the more speakers you add, the less speakers, the speakers will take less space on the screen. So it's all very dynamic, and it's very, very simple to use. I see Pablo also has a presentation he wanted to share. So let me add the presentation here. Perfect, it's like a full screen so we can see it very well. I can also add Pablo here. Hey Pablo, again, you're live. So you can see him on the webcam as he's presenting. Or we can also take him out and ask him to share his audio and do a voiceover. So you have a lot of flexibility here.
I'm unmuted.
And you're unmuted. Hey Pablo. I'm gonna unmute you again, and I'll remove his slide. So you have a lot of flexibility here on controlling of how your webinar is going to present it to your audience. So you're in full control of your branding and of what happens on screen. We think this is a really, really key feature of SpotMe Express compared to many other webinar platforms where any speaker can join, drop, mute, unmute themselves whenever they wish so. So that's how you would run a live stream, a webinar with SpotMe Express. One thing, of course, you'll be doing during your webinar, you'll be getting a lot of questions like we are getting here. Let me show you how you can manage those. So on the right hand side, I have here the discussion panel. So all the questions coming in from the chat are appearing here. Pablo can also see them as a speaker. He has a slightly different interface with less buttons, but he can see those questions coming in. So we have Emma and Tim and Stephanie and Dustin and Jane, a lot of people saying hi from their different respective corners of the world. And we have Tom, for example, asking how many people can join a webinar. So I'm not going to answer this now, we're going to answer this a little bit later. But as you get to the Q&A, one nice thing you can do is you can archive questions if you think they are not relevant, so they disappear from the view. For example, that question comment from Tim. Or if you are answering a question, you can click the push to screen button. And as I click this button, in the front end for your audience, which you can see now live or in the replay, this question pops up at the top of the screen, in the middle of the screen. So people who are just joining maybe later or are listening with one ear, they can get a reminder of what is being talked about. It's also a great feature to post links for people, kind of as little announcements and reminders to go somewhere. We're going to do that also at the end of the presentation. That's Q&A, very simple to manage. You can also edit questions from here if you see a typo. You can also post one from Studio to the audience. Again, great for posting links or reminders. Now the next thing you can do also during your live presentation, of course there's the clapping here that you can see, but there's also polls. So I've created a poll already in advance with a couple of options. You can mark some of them as correct or incorrect if you want to run kind of a quiz. But what you can do with polls, you can of course launch them. So I'm going to launch this poll, and as I'm launching the poll, there's also again a little pop-up that shows up on the bottom of the video where your audience can answer the question as I'm talking. So they are kind of forced to answer, so you get good responses and you get a lot of responses. As we see here, I got everyone vote in a matter of a couple of seconds. And as you may have noticed, as I was talking, I was getting these results immediately here in my console, and the audience who is watching this live could also see these results changing live once they would vote. So I can close the poll. It's gonna go down from the screen, and as a speaker I can comment it. And the favorite feature for everyone today seems to be no downloads. Yes, I agree, and I think Pablo agrees. It's a great feature that we have, and it really helps people get into the stream, into the webinar very, very quickly. So that covers, I think, all of the main features that we have in SpotMe Express. We've shown you how to configure your branding, how to create a registration page. We've shown you how to run a webinar with Q&A, with polls and clapping, and we've shown you how to manage the live layout. So I'm going to invite Pablo back to the screen, and we can maybe go through our Q&A and answer your questions that you've had throughout the presentation. So Pablo, maybe I'll read the questions and you can help me answer those.
Sure.
So we have a question from Tom. He's asking how many viewers can join a webinar on SpotMe Express, and maybe his follow-up question, which is related, is how many speakers can be on screen in SpotMe Express?
Sure. So SpotMe Express allows 5,000 viewers at the same time, and up to 6 speakers via Studio.
Perfect. Yes. Tim is saying it looks fantastic. I think we can agree. Thank you, Tim. It's
Indeed.
We worked a lot on this, and we tried to work with a lot of our customers and things we've learned from virtual events and in-person events to take really the best things and distill that into a really, really great product that we hope you'll love to use. We have another question, Pablo, from Tom. He's asking if SpotMe Express can be integrated with his own, I imagine, registration system or their own website. So how does that work?
Sure. Yeah. So we have plenty of ways to integrate registration. You can integrate your CRM or marketing automation using our APIs, and we have several ones that are actually out of the box. For example, Marketo integration or Veeva integration. Veeva is a CRM that is used in the pharmaceutical industry. And well, you can integrate your registration via our APIs too. So yeah, plenty of possibilities there.
And for all the marketers out there, a good shout out to make is also Zapier. We're listed on Zapier's marketplace, so you can easily connect SpotMe anywhere and SpotMe Express to almost 2,000 kind of different products and platforms. They cover really a full spectrum. Thanks, Pablo. Another question coming from Jane, and that is, where is user data, and I imagine the recordings, where are those hosted and stored?
So yeah, I guess you probably showed that through the demo, but like at the creation of the webinar, you can choose where the data is hosted, and you have right now 3 choices, which is the US, Europe, and Asia Pacific region.
Perfect.
If I'm not mistaken, it's based in Singapore, right, Jose?
Correct. And I think that also answers Tim's question. Can you choose where to host it? And the answer is yes. When you create a webinar, you can choose. And maybe a point I wanted to make that we didn't cover so far in the webinar on hosting of the data. As soon as our webinar, this recording will be done, we'll have the option here from the studio to publish this recording in an on-demand format. So if you're not watching this live, you'll be able to watch this on demand, and that recording is also stored on SpotMe system. It's available instantly to you after you finish the recording, and you can choose, do you want to have it or not. So there's no need for you to take down that video, re-upload it or re-host it somewhere else. It's all very integrated, and I think it speaks to one of our mission, that is to help you host these webinars that are not just live for 1 hour, but you can reuse them and integrate them within your marketing campaigns. So I think it covers all the questions we had today. Pablo, is there anything else you wanted to add for our listeners and viewers today and in the future?
Yeah, very, very excited about the launch of the product. Yeah, anything you can do, please contact sales to get more information, or any question you may have, we will be able to answer. So thanks for the great demo, Jose.
Thank you, Pablo, also for a great introduction. And goodbye, everyone.
Bye.